PLC Network here, and we have a comparison to do between two resolutions using a dash cam that we have been testing out from the company Nextbase. And what we're using as our sample here is called the 512GW, which is their second from their top model. And we're looking at two different resolutions. That its top two resolutions, in fact, the 1080p at 60 frames per second and 1440 at 30 frames per second, to kind of give you the difference between the two. Now, what we're looking right now is 1080p at 60 frames per second, so you're going to have a higher frame rate. And the benefit of this is motion trails and things like that, or motion blurs. Anytime you're in motion, the higher frame rate is better because it's going to look more natural. It's not going to give you that motion blur. So you can see these light bulbs passing by in cars and things like that. You're going to be able to pick them out more distinctively in terms of their shape and everything else. You're not going to see them jitter or anything like that as they pass by. The disadvantages is the resolution isn't as high, so you're not going to pick out as much detail and color. Now, what we're looking at right now is 1440p at 30 frames per second. And the benefit of this is, like I said, you're going to get a little bit more detail. You're going to get a little bit more color. In this case, a lot more color. And that could also be, the lighting outside in terms of the position of the sun and whatnot. Various different variables. But what we're seeing here is actually a massive step up in quality. The disadvantage is usually motion trail, like mentioned. You're going to see a little bit more motion blur as objects pass by and move around on the screen. You're not going to be able to see them as clearly. However, surprisingly, what we've seen in this is that once we come to more of a slower speed, we're able to pick out detail a little bit better than we were at 1080p, despite having half the frames per second. And especially if standing still. This is a perfect example here. If you look at the SUV right in front of us right now, that license plate and everything else can be picked out with great detail, really taking advantage of at that higher resolution of 1440p, which is closer to around like 2K, which is halfway between 1080 and 4K. So despite being less frames, certain objects and things come out with much better color and clarity, with the sacrifice of some motion trail when things are driving by the screen. But this is still enough if you need something to use for purposes of like insurance and other ways of pointing out, what exactly happened if you were involved in an accident and or you witnessed something within your range. So now what we're looking at is a little bit of a bonus, is just to get an idea of what it looks like while you're driving around at night. And what we're looking at right now is actually 1440p at 30 frames per second. So you're definitely maximizing on that motion trail you're getting, because this camera does not work so well at night. You're getting a lot more compression. Looks like low light, it just isn't responding as well. It's still enough to see the basic details of something in case you were involved in an accident or you witnessed one, but it's greatly decreased in quality compared to what it would be in a well-lit daytime environment. A lot of the detail is missing from the image. You're still able to pick up certain signs or the text in certain signs. You're able to see vehicles, but not so much their make and color as well. License plates, you can pretty much rule that out for the most part. And of course, any light in the picture that's shining at the camera is going to be, you're going to have a halo effect on it, and it's just going to really wash that object out. So this camera isn't perfect at night. It's enough to get you through for insurance reasons and whatnot, but don't expect anything too amazing during the PM hours.